Welcome back to Endemic Times. We are talking about the extreme manufacturing slowdown occurring here in the US and across the globe today. It has major implications for the outlook of 2023 and the very likely recession we are going to see. So let's get into it. For the first time since 2020, factory activity is seeing a contraction in the economy. This graph here shows the expansion and contraction of the economy. As noted on the blue line, that number has now dipped below the 50 threshold, which is said to be from a decline in orders for new stuff. This contraction could, but very likely is, the signal of an economic slowdown. According to the chief North American economist at Capital Economics, he states that the current level is consistent with a stagnation in a broader economic growth, and that further declines that are coming are consistent with a recession. These recession fears are not new. The Federal Reserve has been taking drastic actions and increasing interest rates, and that is part of what has fueled an unprecedented slowing down for manufacturing, which could lead to prolonged downturn in industrial production. A thing to keep in mind here is that as experts and the presidential administration continue to say things like job numbers are up more than expected and that our economy is strong, it's more of wishful thinking than actual fact. While in some industries, jobs may be coming up, for example, when employers look for seasonal workers, these are likely not long-term jobs that are coming up. And also with what we have seen in the tech industry layoffs, the slowdown of the economy is going to hit more than a couple of markets. It's across the board, and new jobs coming up now are likely not reflecting those jobs of people that have been laid off. We are going to see a decimation of particular worker fields as continued layoffs occur. And as has been discussed here, the fears of this current recession looking a lot like the 2008 recession is not unfounded. Bank of America economists cite that manufacturing activity is falling to some of the lowest levels since the Great Recession. Inflation, higher interest rates, and growing recession fears have led to slumping demand for goods in both the home market and abroad. New export orders fell sharply in one of the steepest deteriorations in the global trade since 2009. With all of this data, Bank of America has downgraded their forecast for the fourth quarter GDP to 1.2% from 1.4%, with banks economists predicting the US will ultimately fall into a recession next year. A notable aspect of this entire situation in the US is that this will precipitate outwards to the global economy, as it did in the Great Recession of 2008 in the housing market. The National Association of Realtors has noted that contracts on previously owned and existing properties fell 4.6% in October, which is the fifth straight month of decline. And existing home sales have plunged 32% since January. If we go back and remember the Great Recession, it was the housing market that had the most visible display of a recession, in addition to high prices for things like gas, bacon, eggs, proteins, etc., which is all of the things that we are seeing today. The administration and some experts are still trying to toe a line and a particular narrative that a recession isn't happening or isn't within the definition as now updated by the administration. And some may argue that it is important to keep people in the economy and engaged so as to not create a Great Depression level of a run on banks, for example. The fact is that shit's expensive and people are feeling it. If the administration truly wanted to avoid a recession, they would rein in the Fed. They would put a stop on the price gouging that is very much occurring and use the measures available to them to ease the costs. But they are not taking any substantial steps. Hence our current situation. As mentioned a minute ago, what the US is experiencing is having a precipitating effect on the global market as a whole. In August, global manufacturing output shrank relative to the month before, and new orders fell for the second month in a row. And it's not just manufacturing, but also the service sector that is seeing a slowing, which means that this is reflecting a much bigger issue. For instance, the Chinese economy that was really struggling with zero COVID policies, as well as the property market bust, were hit with more shocks over the summer because of intense drought conditions that impeded shipping and a blow to hydropower. The drought conditions, both here and abroad, have been covered on this channel, and I will link those in the description box and at the end. So many of these things are interconnected to each other, which is why we cover these topics and their connections as much as possible to help keep you informed. And lastly, the World Bank has presented 3 scenarios for next year, all of which are not that good. The first scenario is a baseline consistent with the current consensus for global growth, which is about 1.5% per person, which is not consistent with the central bank's desired reception in inflation and therefore is considered too optimistic. The second scenario is a sharp downturn scenario where central banks have to work harder to arrest inflation but still fail to restore price stability and global growth decelerates to 0.8%. The third scenario is the most significant, with synchronous monetary tightening, including a recession that would shrink global output by about 0.4%. So what do you think of all of this? Do you think that we are heading to an '08 recession part 2? Because I sure do. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the bell for when I have new videos coming out. And if you'd like to check out any of the other videos that I have on the drought, on the economy, you can check those out right here. And as always, remember to stay safe, take care, and be kind to each other.